The Dallas Cowboys offensive line. Now, I know we've wanted to talk about this for, I don't know, like a week, but Pro Football Focus had the Dallas Cowboys as the number 10 offensive line in all of the lands going into the season. Yes, Mike, this offensive line.
I'm shocked by that.
You think that's too high, right?
I do. I think at best
16,
it's average.
18? Okay.
So, I mean, I think at best 15, at worst 20.
Okay. All right. I'm kind of curious.
Logic?
Why?
Okay.
Why do you have them that low?
I don't think the OU kid, this is just me listening.
Guyton.
I don't think that OU kid is ready to play in the NFL yet, from what I understand.
Okay.
Now, obviously, that can change in preseason football or whatever, but I just think that he could be wildly inconsistent, and then I don't think they have a center.
Okay, I got you. I don't.
And then all it takes is one injury, and you're like, oh crap.
So let me play. I'm not playing devil's advocate here. Let me play a game here.
Jesus advocate.
Let's say the center is what you think it is, but Tyler Guyton proves to be serviceable at tackle.
Okay.
Like he's a good rookie tackle. You get a Tyler Smith type rookie year out of him. Was Tyler Smith's rookie year exceptional? Or was it, hey, man, that's better than we thought?
It was really, I wouldn't say exceptional, but it was really good, especially compared to expectations.
Do you then feel if you get that out of the tackle, but the center's still wobbly, do you feel like it was a higher than 15 offensive line across the board?
Probably.
Still in a healthy season, hopefully. Like, fingers crossed that he's like truly back and healthy. Zach Martin's still not Zach Martin anymore, but still Zach Martin.
Really good.
Yeah.
And then Tyler Smith's a really good left guard.
Okay, 2 questions. Do you think Tyler Smith is now better than Zach Martin?
No. I understand that question, and he might well be. I'm not prepared to say that yet, though.
I'll agree with Kevin in that I have to see the downfall of Zach Martin, and I have to see Tyler Smith go that far. He's not gotten to Zach Martin level yet, but in what we think of Zach Martin in the past.
Next question. Do you think Guyton can be as good as Tyler Smith's rookie year?
Yes.
Or will be, I guess, either way.
Okay, see, and I feel like that's a different question.
It is.
And it's a far different position, too.
Yes.
So like the athleticism is going to be a big key there.
Can be, I think he can. Will be is where I'm just trying to figure out if that is my fandom hope or is that my like actual football breakdown hope. You know what I'm saying? So like I understand where you're coming from because Corey, I'm not saying you have to agree with this, but I think some people's concerns are there's concerns at 3 different levels or at 3 different positions on the offensive line, right? Guyton
unanswered.
How quickly will he be able to do it? Whether it's Hoffman, whether it's BB.
Yeah, that's an unanswered thing too.
Same thing. And then I think a lot of people still have questions about Steele. Was it coming off injury or was this like...
Oh, no, yeah. That's definitely a big factor for me when it comes to Terrence Steele because there were times before the injury that we were like, dude, look at how that right side dominates. They absolutely were a dominant right side of the offensive line, him and Zach Martin with their doubles. And I hope that it was kind of a blip on the radar for him last year. And I understand the center spot, but those are things where I'm looking like, I got to see it before I can say it's bad. Does that make, like with Guyton, I'm like, I know what he was at OU. I've watched all the tape. I kind of know what Brock Hoffman is as a backup, but I do have to see it before I think it's bad. So yeah. I can, and also one of the other things that is a factor that I don't think people are thinking about enough, and this is where I could look at it being taking a dip. Without Tyron here, he and Zach Martin did lead the way. He and Zach Martin and Travis Frederick, they had a mentality on the work that you put in to be an offensive lineman. Like they had a certain standard that they held. And I don't know if Zach Martin's the only voice in that now. And all those guys are like 5 separate offensive linemen, or if they're still that tight family that's like, this is how we work as an offensive unit. And if that's the case, if Tyler Guyton's walking in and he's like, no, I'm part of this, and Tyler Smith's ready to take over, and no, this is the standard that we set a long time ago, and this is what we're going to be, then I'm feeling a lot more positive. But if it's 5, offensive line is a place where it has to be synchronization like the Cowboys cheerleaders.
Yeah.
You got to be in the same mindset, understand.
Did you also start watching that Netflix
Absolutely.
show?
Dude, I remember, this is really dumb, but I remember.
Reese is a cutie pie, huh?
I remember a coach watching, it was the Kilgorettes. Is that what they are?
Or the Rangerettes, maybe?
Yeah, the Rangerettes. And, dude, they would jump up and land all at the same time. And this coach goes, God, if our offensive line just had that kind of synchronization. And that's exactly what you need them to be one mind, one body, moving the way that they do. And I just don't know if it's going to be there because we were lucky that Tyron Smith was what he was for so long.
Do you know how many of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders have major injuries the rest of their life based off of that splits they do?
It's probably a pretty high number,
they
right?
Have to get, their hips and their knees and everything get jacked up because of that one move.
Ooh, I can see that.
I will say I'm excited about if Hoffman turns out to be good. I'm excited about the backup being BB.
Okay.
I think BB has a nasty streak that you need on your offensive line, and I like that he could be behind those three, Martin, Tyler Smith, and Hoffman, if Hoffman's good enough to carry that role and rock that way. But if he needs to be your center because Hoffman can't cut it, I feel like you got a dude that's not going to back down from the tough fights in the NFL in the middle of the line.
Before you answer, Kevin, I'm expecting BB to be great on special teams.
Are you thinking about Don Beebe?
Well, it's his son. I mean, the guy.
Is it really? Are you just making that up?
Same last name.
Yes. I don't know if that is the case whatsoever.
I'll look it up.
Now,
usually, former wide receivers have huge sons who become offensive linemen.
Yeah, why the hell not? Now
they are not related.
Okay,
great.
Well,
so now you're out on
Mike's
Cooper,
got a good
baby?
point. Do you remember how hard he hustled to swat that ball out of Leon Lett's hand?
Yeah, and great thing is there's no nepotism here then.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would ever say nepotism when it comes to the Cowboys. Now, you bring up an interesting alternate view of this because we talked about all the things that could be bad for the Cowboys' offensive line. But if some things turn your way, like, for example, if Terrence Steele goes back to a couple of years ago, Terrence Steele, and you feel better about him coming off the injury, you're a season removed, then you feel great about that. Zach Martin's still doing his thing. If Hoffman and Beebe throw down like a real deal center competition where you're like, oh my gosh, these guys are both pretty good, then that's a huge win for you. We've talked about it. At CBS, maybe last week, we discussed this interior lineman in the game. CBS had Zach Martin third and Smith fourth.
Wow.
And so, obviously, they believe the best combination of guards in the league belongs to the Dallas Cowboys. And then it would be up to Tyler Guyton if he does some good things. Then all of a sudden you feel really good about your wide receiver. But, man, that's a big variation right there.
Yeah, I guess the one thing that Cowboy fans really can sink their teeth into and go, this is what they do. When they find a guy they like in the first round as an offensive lineman, it works.
Yeah, McClay
defensive lineman, very different. But offensive linemen, they know what they're doing. So Guyton to like, hey, is he going to be as good as Tyler Smith? Or, kind of what you're talking about here is I just feel like there is this confidence that you can have with the Cowboys and offensive linemen that for some reason, I don't know why I'm nervous about it. But with at least Guyton, and I will say, why am I drawing a blank? The Wisconsin kid who people didn't like, but he wasn't bad.
Frederick. Oh.
Yeah, Frederick was great. They're both Wisconsin guys. You got it. But he wasn't bad. He wasn't good.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he was good, but where he was picked, he ended up being all right.
Yeah.
And so
he wasn't strong enough for the spot, I think. There were a lot of times when I was just like, oh, man, if he could just be in that spot against those big guys on the defensive line, he needed to be stronger or have a little more finesse in his technique.
Now,
a little more judo to it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Whenever
actually,
you get some judo, you can get people off balance and throw them on the
ground. I know that will be a
penalty,
though, but I absolutely want to see them do that kind of hip toss block all of the time. Is there a team that you think stands out as having a really good offensive line or a really terrible offensive line?
Well, besides like the terrible teams,
yes,
I feel like Cincinnati always has a bad offensive line for Joe Burrow that he has to overcome.
That has definitely been true. I always wonder if like you see some big swings because they invest in it, but the Bengals are still listed as 21 by Pro Football Focus. So in the bottom half of the league.
The Browns are always good because they run the ball well.
That was the same thing I was thinking.
Cleveland Browns are number 4 on the list. The top 5 goes like this: the Jets, the Browns, the Colts, the Eagles,
Even with losing Kelsey?
Yes.
Are the Lions in this mix?
The number one offensive line in all of the land is the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, man.
Dude, and they're all wide receivers, too, if they need to be.
Well, they do like to run out.
Yeah, they all say I'm a wide receiver.
Is this still going back to the 2-point conversion play from that's what we're discussing? Okay.
Yeah. Just think about, remember when we were talking about Penei Sewell and everybody was like, I don't know about it. And everybody was he's
awesome.
He's going to be great. And he has turned out to be absolutely fantastic for that team.
And then in case you were wondering, like, I didn't actually go through the blurb for the Cowboys for Pro Football Focus. I feel like we chopped it up, but here's their truncated version of it. Although the Cowboys offensive linemen had been among the best 5 units in the league for years, that position is in jeopardy going forward. Cowboys let Tyron Smith and Tyler Biadasz walk in free agency, and now Tyler Guyton is set to replace Smith, while Brock Hoffman is expected to play center. It did not help Dallas that right tackle Terrence Steele had a disappointing 2023 season. And then it points out they have one of the best guard duos in the entire NFL. Now, whether or not you think it's the best, that might be a matter of opinion.
You shore up that center position, and you are a better team. Man.
It does feel like a game changer to have, like, then you would feel like a lock on the interior of the offensive line. I know so much gets paid attention to the tackles.
There are a couple things there. One, it's the first thing right in the quarterback's face, and it's a shorter distance from the position to the quarterback. So if people can get through right there at your center spot, shorter distance to get to the quarterback and take him down. And it's a distraction, dude. Where you're mostly throwing and stepping up into the pocket is behind those 3 guys. The guys out on the edge, they're taking care of the speed that's coming after you, but it's right there in the middle where you're going to step up and into a spot. And Dak is traditionally, look at his history, whenever he's comfortable up there, he's a more comfortable quarterback.